go for it. Yeah.
So essentially what we're saying is around 70% of the spend or 69% is on Facebook across markets.
Yeah.
And around, and 17% is on TikTok, right?
Yeah.
So one thought that came to mind is when we are doing a TikTok holdout, right? You are actually cutting only 17% of the spend. But if you look at it from an aggregate perspective, you still have 83% of the spend going into that.
Right. Yes.
Right. So what does that do to the lift? And while for Facebook, if you look at it, when you take out 69%, only 31% of the aggregate marketing spend is there in that market, right? So
yes. So the point, that's the point. That's why you can only measure it this way, right? Which is take everything into account, the halo effects, channels working together, other media and market. How do you understand the effect of one channel and the investment in one channel? Is to take it out of market and look at it, right? Now, if you want to understand the overall effect of marketing, you can turn off all media and go dark on all media for a bunch of markets and see how it works. You can do that, absolutely. I've seen clients do that. A little bit more intrusive to do that. And this is a way for you to understand the effect of just Facebook, just TikTok, right? And I think when you come from MTA, there's always this, we think of the world in very deterministic terms, which is, people see Facebook, then they search and they convert. Well, the world is very probabilistic, and in the sense that it's you add more Facebook, you're going to have more growth, right? You take off more Facebook, it's going to slow down growth, right? Now, what is that factor is kind of how you measure it. The idea of thinking about it deterministically as a customer journey was kind of somewhat failed. That really, it's really not possible to orchestrate customer journeys. Let me give people 3 impressions here, get them to search, and then give them 1 more retargeting impression here, and then kind of like string together these contacts to get them to convert, right? This idea, that was a 2008, 2007 kind of programmatic, individualized impression targeting type of thing. It doesn't work out. Okay.
Yeah, but
Karl, you have a bunch of questions. Sorry, go ahead, Vishnu. Yeah.
No, but where I was actually coming from is, like you said, right? So maybe TikTok is really upper funnel, Facebook is maybe mid funnel, and probably your maybe branded search is lower funnel, right? So when you take out one media, but the rest of it is there, you would that result in some kind of skew in the result, right? Because
you're not testing for the interactive effect. If you want to ask the question, we're not very deliberately not testing for it. You can test for it. You can say, I want to test Facebook and search together, and I want to turn them off, turn them on together. You can do that. It just turns out that for many DTC brands, most mid-funnel brands, is that the direct effect of the Facebook alone is 90% of the total effect. The interactive effect is a really small portion. Maybe it's like 5%, 7%. You can test for it. It turns out it's a really small portion of the total effect. The direct effect is a massive portion. Most of the effect is direct effect, okay? So you're just removing and adding media, it gets the answer you're looking for. And so you see how everybody is reacting to the result? And that's kind of how people are consuming the result. You can ask, the question you're asking is very much an enterprise question. If you're an Amex, for example, you consulted AT&T, they'll be like, wait, they all work together. And that's how agencies have sold it for many, many years. That's also like a religion now. But you can, if you really believe that there is interactive effect between 2 channels, you can test them together. You can turn them off and turn them on together. You can test for it together. It just turns out in practice, majority of the effect, 90+% of the effect that you'll feel from a channel is direct, which is whatever the effect is of seeing Facebook ads, right? And you can measure it. This is the most classic way of measuring it, on and off. And you do it in a geo context, match market context.
And for what it's worth, I think, people sort of have an intuitive, but also very data-based answer to this, which is for certain revenue tiers, these are the things you do, and they're proven to work because you see it work from other companies. So from 0 to 50 million, really it's a Facebook, TikTok, or Facebook, Snapchat 5 years ago. Google, like those are the channels that you run to figure out if your product market fit is actually there. And then once you have to start running some other things that are true upper funnel or that don't have a click component, like a podcast, like radio, All those channels work fine. You just can't measure them quite the same way. And the interactive effect is very different. So, and always kind of root these thoughts and discussions in human behavior. If you're listening to terrestrial radio, you have to listen usually in the car. You hear an ad, they're usually with high frequency. You hear it 5, 6, 8 times. If you think about yourself, you rarely in the car are going to go Google around for that. You will often figure, maybe you save a voice note to yourself, or then you see a Facebook ad for it or something. Like, these things make sense and there is some logic to it. Whereas a Facebook ad or an Instagram ad, all of us have done this before. You're scrolling around, you go through and you click shop, period. Like, so the results actually do match human behavior and our own personal behavior. Whereas if you're shopping at Zara, when do you really shop at Zara? Well, you know that there's a store everywhere and you saw the billboards and maybe you saw a TV commercial, whatever. It's a different thing. I know I need clothes, I go to Zara. It's a different kind of way of shopping than any of us are kind of accustomed to. Whereas think about Revolve as the online version of Zara. That's a very different game also, where people are seeing it's a very product react kind of concept. So it's a different dynamic. But the interactivity is very real, but for the most part, especially for D2C brands that have shorter time to consideration, i.e. lower price points, it's really one primary touch point. Sure, there's some amount of interactivity. There's a fuzziness, like upper, middle, low funnel is a spectrum. It's not like a defined thing, but for the most part, it's pretty straightforward for us. It's actually a very important point, and I'm sorry, I'm rambling, but it's a very important point that you should really tune all of the analyses and the methodology and what you're analyzing to the brand. So if you have someone selling a $500 jacket or $1,000 couch, furniture, mattress, those are very you would not do that. You would want to change the way you're thinking about the analysis if you're running those campaigns, because they're different and they might take 20 days for someone to decide with 10 touch points and 3 of them matter.
Yeah.
Something
Karl
like
made
that.
a similar point here. Karl, did you have sorry, did you have an opinion?
Oh, yeah, it just kind of echoes what Ovadia was saying, was that basically, yeah, if you're direct to consumer up to your first 50 million, up to your first 100 million, you're going to be dealing with very measurable tactics. As you get into upper funnel things that have either a layer of abstraction or pushing higher on the consideration cycle, you're going to have some different ways of going about things and looking into what you might measure. And it's also areas where you might take a step back and say, okay, it's going to be hard to look at the long-term carryover effect of one of these channels. It's also difficult to buy some of them and know that you can restrict them to a particular geography, such as podcasts. They go out everywhere. You can't say, only some people allow you addressable ad insertion. So with all of that, you might look for one step back proxy measures, such as brand lift or what have you. So that's all.
Okay, fantastic conversation. Thank you, guys.